Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and we love to help the well-dressed acquire and care for their wardrobes. In this video, I'm going to show you how to tie my favorite tie knot, the Old Bertie. I'm really excited because we just received a new shipment of my favorite tie, the Sovereign Grade Basket Weave Tie, an absolutely beautiful tie that's versatile and produces a beautiful knot. All of our ties are made exclusively for us out of London, and we have a special lining that we've chosen to produce a great knot. I'm going to show you how to tie my favorite tie knot, which is the Old Bertie. What I like about the Old Bertie is it produces a nice, slightly asymmetric knot that is still quite long and it's not too fat. It's an easy knot to tie, and I'm going to show you how to tie it in this video. Remember, there's three important elements that you need to remember when tying a tie. First is you need a great tie knot that's tight to the collar, a nice, beautiful dimple in the middle, and you want the tie blades to be approximately the same length. Depending on the rise of your pants, your tie blade should always end either right around the navel or at the top of your trousers. What you definitely don't want is your tie being too short and not reaching the top of your trousers. Now, if you have a high-waisted trouser, having your tie be slightly long is perfectly okay as long as your trousers are sitting above your navel. Whenever I tie my tie in the morning, the first thing I do is pop my collar, and then of course my collar stays are always inserted into my shirt before I put the shirt on. And then one of the things that I do is, because most of my ties are all Sovereign Grade ties, I take note, where the pattern piece is cut on the small end of the blade, and then I always use that to position the tie in the relative same place next to my collar stay. So I'm always looking kind of how that aligns relative to the collar stay. So I know that for this tie, the seam is right about where the collar stay is. So I've got it right here. I'm going to cross it, right? I'm holding this with my fingers, right? With my left hand, I'm pinching the tie. I'm bringing it through and over, right? Now, one of the secrets to getting a beautiful knot is really just paying attention to making sure that everything is lying flat as you're tying this. So this blade is coming out flat. Then I'm going to wrap it behind and to the right, around. I'm going to take it over. I'm pitching the knot to hold it together, switching hands, up, behind, okay, and then back over. Now you'll see I have my fingers through this knot. So I've got the tie knot pinched. I'm wrapping this over my fingers, up, and that's just to make it easy to then stuff your tie back through that loop that you've created. Okay? Now this is the secret to getting a beautiful knot. Okay, so I've got it through. I'm making sure that everything is lying flat. And then what you do is you grab the short blade and you pinch it. And then you grab the long blade and you're pinching it with just your index finger and your thumb. And then you pull it tight, right? So that is what's going to produce that tie knot. You don't want to hold it, thick. You really just want an index finger and a thumb, and you pull it tight. So now that I've got that, I'm going to check, and I always check to make sure that my tie is coming up to the top of my collar band because I don't want it poking out from underneath my collar. I fold it down and check to make sure that it's not poking out. Then I button my shirt, right, pull that, and then I'm going to cinch that tight. Now, so you can see I've got a nice tight knot. It's slightly asymmetric. I've got a beautiful dimple in the middle. The other thing I like to do is just, again, kind of pull my shirt flat to make sure that's laying flat. And you can see a beautiful knot, an absolutely gorgeous tie. And on a white shirt, this Sovereign Grade Basket Weave tie is an absolute killer. Okay, so here we are for a second time. I've got my collar popped. I'm checking the length of where this tie aligns. Every tie is going to be a little bit different. And then I'm pulling it, crossing the long blade over the front, pinching, taking it up, back, around. Again, I'm pinching the tie to keep it together, making sure everything's flat, up, through the top, down the loop. And again, here it's very important to getting the dimple. I'm checking to make sure that this is lying flat. If it's wrinkled or folded over, you won't get a nice dimple. Then I'm holding the short blade with my fingers, the long blade with just my index finger, and I'm gonna pull that tight, okay? Now, again, you might have to play with this a little bit. So now that I've got that, I'm going to check the position of the top, bring my collar down. I'm going to button my collar. Now here is another trick to getting a nice tight knot. Again, hold your blade and then take your 2 index fingers over the knot and then pull it down. All right, so I like to, again, pull on this and then cinch that nice and tight. I'm going to take this up. There we go. Perfect tie knot, Old Bertie with a beautiful tie dimple. You'll also see that my tie blades are equal length. You know, the long tie blade is just reaching the top of my trousers. And, you know, it's okay if the short blade, you know, is coming out a little bit. I like that. I actually don't put my tie blade, the short blade, through the keeper. I like to see it, you know, kind of play around. And I think that, you know, that adds certainly a little bit of just style to someone that really understands how to tie their tie. So I'm going to finish with just a few key takeaways about tying a beautiful tie knot. First, don't be afraid to be rough on your tie. If you've purchased a high quality tie, like our Kirby Allison sovereign grade ties that have really high quality linings, you can tug and you can pull and you can play around with that knot to really get it perfect without having to worry at all about ruining the tie or changing the shape. The second thing is that a properly tied tie knot really should have a beautiful dimple, and this is worth practicing. The key, the secret to this is before you pull this knot tight, to make sure that that long blade is lying flat, and then just using your index fingers, your thumb, you know, pulling, holding this tight and then really pulling down, because it's the pressure of you pulling that tie through the knot at this single point that really causes that beautiful knot to form. Once you've got it tight, you know, feel free to play around with it. I mean, I do that throughout the day. You know, you can play around with the knot if it's too flat or something. I mean, again, don't be afraid to play around with that. And then, you know, practice. I mean, it takes a little bit of time to get a perfect tie knot, to learn a new knot. But once you do that, you'll absolutely be setting yourself apart, and you can be a part of the Old Bertie Club, you and me, tying one of the least known but most beautiful tie knots that's out there. So if you haven't checked out our collection of sovereign grade ties, we've got a beautiful collection of ties made exclusively for us out of the highest quality silks, handmade in London, hand slipped, beautiful, absolutely exclusive designs. This is our sovereign grade basket weave tie. It's my absolute favorite tie. You can see with the white shirt and a dark suit. This is an absolute killer of a tie. So take a look, hangerproject.com. And of course, we're going to be adding more ties over the months, so make sure that you're a subscriber to this channel, you turn on your notifications, and that you're on our email list. I'm Kirby Allison, and we love to help the well-dressed acquire and care for their wardrobes. Thanks for joining me.